Extra, we're watching the tropics as a disturbance continues to form over the Caribbean islands. We're on your side with where it could possibly go and if we could see any impacts right here at home in Alabama.
WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
And still showing 93 degrees here on Red Mountain. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan joining us now for First Alert Weather Extra. And Lauren, it just seems like it hit an entirely new level today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fitting. It's the first day of August,
That's
right? Hottest month of the year. And July gave us a false sense of security, I think.
Yeah, I noticed over the city, we had the tower cam earlier. You could see a little bit of a haze. I'm beginning to wonder maybe that might be some of that smoke from some of those fires out west.
Likely.
You know, we're right there on that edge of that ridge that's been bringing in that flow from the west. But kind of interesting. It's hot. It's certainly hazy out there. That's one of the next big things. But throw on top of that possibility of severe thunderstorms tomorrow. That's going to shake it up. We'll show you more on that here in just a few moments. But here's a current view out the window and some of our sky vision sites. That water looks good over at Lake Tuscaloosa. Good place just to go cool off. But notice there at Chelsea and even the tower camera, you see how it's a little bit hazy there off on the in the distance. It's been a scorcher today. Hot is the word. We've got the dangerous heat index. It's going to continue through tomorrow for most of the day. And then late in the day, the afternoon and evening, well, be ready for the possibility of strong to severe thunderstorms moving in from the north, developing, dropping southward. That chance is going to be there through the evening. And as we showed you there, we're watching the tropical threat in the Gulf. That's that same system we've been telling you about right here all week long. Now looks like it's going to move into the Gulf, but feels like right now, if you're thinking, well, maybe it's cool enough for me to head outdoors. Well, if you want to get a walk or run in and plan for these kind of heat index levels, 108, 104 in Anniston, 103 around Aliceville. And yeah, very, very hot conditions. That's lasting well into the evening, but no rain expected tonight. Now tomorrow night, different story. This is what I'm talking about. Notice how the storms develop and drop south. Some of those may be severe. I'm thinking tomorrow at the earliest, perhaps 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we could start to see some of that development, but a lot of this may hold off late afternoon and even tomorrow night. So you want to catch a movie, have dinner plans Friday night, just know there could be some storms moving south. Some of those could produce some gusty winds, some frequent lightning, and some very large hail. So we're going to watch that. That's going to help us with the heat going into the weekend, help to lower those temperatures. But at the same time, we're monitoring now what is a 70% chance for tropical development. This is the area that's been investigated, and it's an area we've been watching. It's way down there. It's over the Dominican Republic right now. It's interacting with land. That's why it's poorly organized at the moment. But notice by Saturday here, as it moves into the Gulf, a weaker system, as we talked about around Monday, it looks like now that system is going to be weak enough to where it slides into the Gulf. It moves north, and as it does so, it's going to bring that risk for flooding. This is some of the spaghetti models, some of the various model solutions, but I stress that since this system hasn't organized yet, the models still, some of these tropical models really won't have a good grasp on this thing, but I think it moves to the north. You'll see some of the model data here. Looks like Sunday night and into Monday, and it's going to move very close to places like Apalachicola, the Big Bend of Florida. Certainly, I think the East Florida Panhandle could end up with some flooding issues by early next week, by Monday. Gusty winds. I mean, this is going to churn the water up all along the coastal areas there towards Panama City. But for folks that do have plans to visit Panama City in those areas, while there's a chance it might move further east, we still have some data, like as you can see right here, that shows us moving closer to the coast, and it may stall out. And if that happens, that could mean some big-time issues with respect to the rainfall. Some significant flooding could be a story right on through the middle of next week. So something to watch. Still trying to figure out that long-term track. As for our area, might bring a few scattered showers and storms if it does jog a bit west there in early next week. So we'll be watching it closely for you. But as we continue through these First Alert weather days, it may be hot here, but are we living in one of the sweatiest cities in America? Lauren says yes. According to Home Services website Thumbtack, have you ever been to the Thumbtack website? Birmingham is not on that list. Can you believe it? Now, Austin, Texas leads the way with Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Dallas, Fort Worth, and Charlotte finishing out the top 5. And we need to be added to that list. And at the bottom of the list is Baltimore, Maryland. But even though we're not the sweatiest city to keep cool, you can Close blinds or curtains to keep the sunlight out of your home. Use fans and limit appliance use. You know, one thing I want to mention there, it said Washington, D.C. is one of the top 3, but not Baltimore. Interesting stuff there.
Yeah, very interesting. You kind of have to look at the microclimate there. I don't know. I may have to ask Thumbtack some questions, Wes.
Maybe so. Yeah, microclimate indeed. But looks like as we move ahead, though, Lauren, a lot of dangers with this heat over the next couple days. Still need to play it very safe, even into next week.
Yeah, Wes, that's very true. So we keep talking about how this heat, which granted we get it hot and humid every summer here in Alabama, but the heat and humidity is not just taxing on your body for the average person, but also for people who work outside. And we actually got in some new data from our friends at Climate Central, and it was looking at data that was showing, okay, since 1994 to 2023, so about a 30-year period, how many average annual days each year do you see a heat index of greater than 95? And it actually looks like right here in central Alabama, you can get on average 40 days per year where that heat index is greater than 95. And of course, we're no stranger to that in the summer months. So you see that puts more heat stress on your body, especially if you're working outside, because as we've been talking about all week long, the problem with that humid heat is that it doesn't allow you to cool down. And just within the past 50 years or so, the humid heat has actually been going up. When you have a warming climate, the air can hold more water vapor. And so when the air can hold more water vapor, it has the capacity to have more humidity. And so you can see here in the Birmingham area, on average, over the past 50 years, we have added about 14 more days per year with a heat index of 80 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. And it's actually when you get that heat index 80 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, that's when you can definitely see more stress on your body, especially if you work outdoors under that blazing sunshine. So make sure you're staying safe and keeping it cool, and we'll always be checking in on you here on Weather Extra. But across the country, crews are now battling almost 100 large active wildfires. That's according to the National Interagency Fire Service. It says the U.S. is at preparedness level 5, the highest that exists. This means that national resources are heavily committed to fighting these flames. Colorado officials report at least one death that's linked to the Stone Canyon fire. The state also is battling the Quarry and Alexander Mountain fires. In California, the Park Fire remains the biggest challenge. Well, coming up on First Alert Weather Extra, we take a check on that current forecast as we head into the evening, and we talk about a storm system that plowed across the Midwest and how the science behind that works. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back into Weather Extra, and can you believe it? It is back to school already. That time is almost here, and if you are going to be doing some shopping for back to school supplies this weekend, tomorrow's rain chance will be for the afternoon and evening. Lauren, let's go back to that graphic there. I want to show Saturday and Sunday rain chances around 20%, as you can see. Temperature-wise for Saturday, the heat levels back off a little bit, but if you're running some errands, maybe doing a little shopping for Saturday and Sunday, you can see the rain chances certainly back off. So the risk for heavy rainfall and storms lessens, but we will of course be watching the tropics to see if that system is going to have any impact on our forecast. Tomorrow's another day you want to get an early start as we pick a few locations. Let's head into Sawyerville, showing 75 tomorrow morning. The 6 Mile area around 74. As we look, we're in the Coleman County there early in the day. 74 around Chocolaco, and in the morning no rain expected for us out the door, but the afternoon we could have some storms, so grab the umbrella, add that to the out the door checklist. You may need it later in the day. Areas further south, this is actually way down around the Deatsville area. They're showing those 70s in the morning. Very warm night on the way. Afternoon highs for tomorrow will still reach into the mid 90s. Let's head back over to Lauren.
Well, Wes, check this out. Severe thunderstorms in Nebraska caused widespread power outages near the Omaha metro area. In these videos from our sister station WOWT, the winds brought damaging impacts. You can see the patio furniture just getting swept away into a backyard and tree limbs falling on top of cars. Wind gusts around Omaha's airport actually reached 90 miles per hour. There were nearly 250,000 outages during the peak of the storm. So what is the cause for these damaging winds? Well, it's actually something called a derecho. So a derecho is actually a widespread, long-lived windstorm. And it may sound like a little fancy name. It's like, well, where did that come from? It's been around for a while. And when you get these type of systems, they can have damaged swaths that extend over 240 miles. And that's not just talking about, okay, these winds are going out over 240 miles and everyone is seeing the same amount of damage along the path. It also includes wind gusts of at least 58 miles per hour or greater along most of its length. So how do these type of systems form? Well, first let's talk about squall lines, which is a type of feature of when storms can develop. When storms can organize, sometimes they can form into a line, and these will often form squall lines when you have a really moist environment. And what you get is a more linear system. So instead of storms being more spread out, like we get sometimes in the summer, more scattered, you can get a line of storms to develop. And when that line develops, it can become severe. Why? Well, on the backside of the storm, the winds actually become stronger than the winds in front of the storm. And what causes that to do is it causes the line to bow out. And this feature on radar is called a bow echo. So the backside winds really help to gust out ahead. They take over the winds that were weaker out ahead of the storm, and that causes there to be a bowing segment on radar. And when you see that feature, you can get those damaging winds. So you can almost see it here as we look at it in a more 3D view. So you have a strong thunderstorm, and that can happen when you have strong updrafts. You have this warm, humid air flowing into a storm, but then you also have a downdraft that develops within the storm. And so this downdraft causes this cooler air to flow out of the storm, and sometimes it can be pretty impactful. And what happens is you have this cooler air coming out of the storm that meets the warm air moving in front of it, and it forms what is called a gust front. And along this front, along this boundary, you can see more explosive development. So sometimes when that happens, you can get a derecho, and that's what we had happen the other night in Nebraska. Haven't seen one here in a bit here in central Alabama, but we'll be keeping an eye on things as always. Hey, taking you beneath the surface, one of the strongest earthquakes in Texas history struck West Texas last week, and it was one of over 100 earthquakes that occurred in the last 9 days. In this week's Degree of Science, meteorologist Brady Taylor speaks with an expert on the science on why earthquakes are becoming more frequent in the area.
That area near the county line between Scurry and Fisher, it's not known for natural seismicity. The pattern of the earthquakes and the relationship to human causes in the oil field are very similar to what we've seen in many other cases in the Permian Basin region. So earthquakes come when you have an existing geologic fault that slips. In West Texas, there are many of these geologic faults in the subsurface. If the stresses around those faults become unstable, those faults can slip. Those faults can be made to slip if we change the stress state around them, and it's pretty easy to do that. One way is by hydraulic fracturing. The process of extracting oil from unconventional reservoirs, which is so prevalent now across Texas, especially in West Texas, involves drilling wells down into the ground and then turning those wells and drilling them horizontally. And they can go a couple of miles horizontally through the rock. Then to make the rock deliver the oil to that well, the well is called fractured, hydraulically fractured. In rare occasions, that hydraulic fracturing itself can interact with these existing faults. And since that hydraulic fracturing is a pressurization process, it can cause a fault to destabilize and make an earthquake. What's much more prevalent is that water that comes back with the oil as the oil is produced has to be disposed of. And the common practice for disposing of that water is to inject it back underground in other wells to dispose of that water permanently in subsurface formations. It's that process that is very widespread. Thousands of wells across the state of Texas do this every day, that then in some places can cause increase in the pressure and faults to slip. In the Permian Basin, every day the petroleum industry has to handle 15 million barrels of this wastewater, and most of that is injected back underground.
Welcome back into Weather Extra. Here's our forecast for this evening. Temperatures, we know it's going to be hot out there. Will we see any rainfall? No storms expected. If you have plans for tonight, just expect those higher heat index levels to continue well into the evening. Now, tomorrow morning, starting out in the 70s, of course, our better time of the day. Not seeing rain in the morning, but by early afternoon, we could start to see some thunderstorms, scattered storms developing to the north. We're going to be watching those areas, and as the day goes on and into the evening, increasing chances for more of those storms dropping north to south across the area. And in this kind of setup here, coming off of a heat wave, several days of extremely hot weather. It's a first alert weather day for heat, but also could have some strong to severe thunderstorms, and that could continue late into the night. Maybe some of those storms even on radar past midnight tomorrow night. But the good thing is, one good thing at least, is going to help to bring a little bit of relief as we go into the day on Saturday. I think those afternoon highs Saturday will be in the low 90s. Still hot at times this weekend. weekend, but the heat levels backing off. We'll take what we can get, certainly. And you'll notice a nice improvement. I noticed we had the world's longest yard sale going on, and a lot of back-to-school shopping going on this weekend. If you're out and about Saturday morning, should have some nice improvements after those storms move through. Now, Saturday and Sunday, we did include a 20% chance for an afternoon pop-up storm, most likely for those areas to the south. But there will, again, be plenty of breaks, plenty of opportunities for outdoor activities. Enjoy another big weekend out by the pool, heading out to the lake this weekend. Afternoon highs Saturday, low 90s. Watching tomorrow, though, I mentioned that risk for severe storms. Now, with all storms, lightning is going to be a concern, but I'm thinking we could see some intense, frequent cloud-to-ground lightning with these storms, damaging wind gusts and some large hail possible if we do have some of those severe storms that do materialize. And as I showed you earlier, this is one of our high-resolution models, the BAMS model, showing this tropical disturbance is interacting right now. A lot of land there. It's actually moving across the Caribbean, Dominican Republic, across Cuba, and then as it enters the Gulf of Mexico as a weaker system, we saw that scenario possible. It starts to move north, and the same system that's bringing us a risk for storms tomorrow is what's helping to turn the system. But notice by Monday morning, it's approaching the Gulf Coast, may grow into a powerful tropical storm. Tropical storm Debbie could develop. Will it stall or will it continue to the north? Well, we know development's likely. Gulf Coast impacts as early as Sunday, and could easily see a flood threat there along the Panhandle. So stay tuned as we add to those specifics over the next several days. Now, Monday and Tuesday for us, 30% chance for storms. Not seeing a direct impact at this time, but we're monitoring the tropics in case that system jogs to the west. That could impact our rain chances. So we'll keep an eye on it through the weekend. Of course, that's going to have an impact as we go beyond the 7-day forecast, Lauren. But the one good thing, at least tomorrow, talking about those storms moving in, at least a little bit of relief to start off the weekend. Yeah,
not too mad about that. I know that could maybe put a damper on your Friday night plans, but hey, that won't be too shabby going into the weekend with those lower rain chances. Like Wes said, keeping a close eye on the tropics. Well, okay, today is the first day of August, right? And we always say late July getting into August, those are the quintessential dog days of summer. Well, as we look ahead here beyond the 7-day, 8 to 14 days from now, what's the temperature trend? I'm going to give you a wild guess. Yep. August 9th through 15th, as we get into the middle of the month, it still looks like here, at least in Alabama, we could be seeing above average temperatures. Now, I'm not telling you, oh, we're going to be going into a massive heat wave where we see 100-degree temperatures every day. Now, granted, you can see feels like temperatures in the triple digits, but when you see above average, think about context. Typically this time of the year, we're around 91, 92 degrees for our high. So maybe we could see temperatures getting into the mid, if not upper 90s in some spots. But we're also seeing signs that 8 to 14 days from now, we could be seeing above average precipitation across a good portion of the U.S. and here in Birmingham. Now, this time of the year, you have to think in August. Okay, could that have to be because of the tropics? Very well could be the case, but right now it looks like potentially that heaviest rain, if we did see a system develop, even if no system does develop, there's going to be a rainmaker in the Gulf of Mexico for at least parts of Florida, the Florida Peninsula, as Wes said, potentially the Florida Panhandle. But let's look ahead here at the futurecast. This is next Friday, August 9th. So you can see possibly the remnants of a system up the Carolinas, but here in our neck of the woods, just the possibility of some scattered showers and storms as we head into possibly next weekend. So I'm not seeing anything too unusual for a summer pattern, but hey, stay tuned as we share some of your weather photos right after the break. We'll be back in just a bit.
All right, welcome back into Weather Extra.
Ooh.
Josh Burnham showing off again. I tell you, this guy is, he shows some incredible photos. Yeah, he's got this drone. He flies up over Raglan and sends these photos.
But hey, not too shabby from William Isbell either. Love that shot of those little puffy cumulus clouds like cauliflower bubbling up in the sky.
It's incredible because when they're so scattered like that, you can see them from so far away, get those nice photos.
Very
Jimmy
nice.
Saris, Logan Martin Lake.
Nice and tranquil.
Yeah, nice and tranquil. That's where I want to be tomorrow.
Me
Okay?
too.
And Terry Turner shared this.
Gorgeous.
Just incredible.
Wow.
I mean, to capture that. I noticed we had some lightning visible north of Red Mountain a couple nights ago. We were out watching the space station, and I was going through trying to stop the video.
That's the way to do it
now.
I mean, that was pretty impressive. I don't know if he took that with his iPhone. If he did, props. But yeah, there are ways to get around that now.
But hey, we always say, thunder roars, go indoors. We want you to be safe out there. Hey, we'll see you back here with updates tonight. First Alert Weather, join us at 9. All right, here we go. Bell Media in 3, 2. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt, another First Alert weather day for those triple-digit heat index levels topping 105 for today. But on top of that, we could see some strong to severe storms moving south across the area as we go into this evening. There's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, so stay alert for this afternoon. That possibility, some gusty winds, some intense lightning as those storms move south. We're going to see that threat for storms tonight. It's going to help us out. A little bit of relief tomorrow, highs in the low 90s as opposed to mid to upper 90s, but at least in the morning after that rainfall should help us out. But storms today, any storm, lightning's a concern, so stay alert for those lightning alerts on the weather app, damaging wind gusts and some large hail possible. Also in the tropics, we could be talking about tropical storm Debbie over the Atlantic over the next couple days, moving to the north. This could be close to places like Panama City or Apalachicola Sunday night and Monday. Could this grow into a Category 1 hurricane? Some of the data suggests that could happen, so stay alert through this weekend. Gulf Coast impacts, most likely eastern panhandle, but certainly need to watch it around here. If it jogs to the west, it could impact our rain chances. At the moment, we're talking 30% chance for some scattered storms in the next week. Highs in the 90s. Again, for this weekend, those rain chances do back off, but notice the overnight lows down into the mid 70s. But check the First Alert weather app. We'll see you on WVRC Fox 6 News today, starting at 4.
What's going on? We do. Oh, so you do